forward. And so, hi everyone. Thanks for joining our meetup. Actually, it's the first one for One HealthTech Melbourne online. So we are very happy to have you here. I'm Olga, a curator of One HealthTech Melbourne, and we're going to talk today a little bit more about health tech in the aged care. And of course, given the current situation, wherever you are, aged care, COVID, health tech is a very important topic. And we have here today some healthcare practitioners, but also people working in the health tech industry to actually talk to you a little bit more about different solutions and practices that they are developing in here. So before starting, and I promise I'm not going to take much of your time today, so just to tell you a little bit more about One HealthTech. So One HealthTech is a grassroots community that was created a few years ago. And if you can see in here, and this is an outdated slide, you have so many different hubs around the world, and it's growing. Like only yesterday, I had a call with Chloe from Hong Kong, and she's planning to start a hub on her own. And I do think that we have Maxine here, one of the co-founders of One HealthTech Hub. So I don't know if Maxine, if you want to say hi or quickly jump and.
I'll just quickly say hi, but it's an early morning start in the UK, so I'm really just here to listen and learn. But yeah, no, lovely to be part of this event globally.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Maxine, and thanks for joining us. So just a quick overview, like One HealthTech Melbourne, I don't know how many of you are actually based in Melbourne. We're still very new, so I don't know why my slides are jumping. But yeah, One HealthTech Melbourne. So we actually started at the beginning of 2019, and so far we've done 8 this is the 8th meetup. We did have a little COVID break on our own at the beginning of the year to actually prepare and see what can be done online. And so this is the slide just to tell you that we are very welcoming, and please, if you have any interesting topics on healthcare, health tech, anything in relation to that, or digital healthcare innovation, please reach out. And we can partner and organize things together. And also, if you want to be a part of the community, please reach out as well. That would be great. Here are just some of the collaborators and speakers that we've organized meetups together. And the slide, again, this is nothing that we have updated already. I'm not going to introduce our speakers today. I have Alec for that, who is our facilitator for today. But as I mentioned, we'll have some healthcare practitioners and facilitators in here who will help you. So Ria, who is actually one of the first co-organizers of the first One HealthTech meetup that we've done together at the beginning of 2019. And Alec, who is going to be a glue who will facilitate our session today. So Ria, please, the floor is yours. Let me just, yeah.
I'll first unmute myself. I hope for now everybody can hear me. Olga, thank you so much for this very interesting presentation, in fact, to understand better what One HealthTech is. And indeed, it is a pleasure always to be a co-organizer for this event. And I think the ones that we have here now, like you just said, is very much into the minds of a lot of people right now. So I would like to look a little bit at some statistics. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So aged care is a very important sector, because if you look at the OECD countries, most of them spend about 1.7% of their GDP on long-term care for elders. So that's quite a lot. If we compare it with childcare, for example, there's only 0.7%. And it is a growing sector in most OECD countries. In Australia, for example, more than 1.2 million people receive aged care services. Most of them receive this service at home, about more than 70%, and the rest in residential care homes. It is also a very important sector for employment in Australia and in most other countries, and most of the people that work in that sector are women, about 85%. All right, Olga, maybe the next one. With the next one, I want to start introducing the topic of health tech in aged care. So technology can offer a lot of solutions to the problems that are there in the sector, but it's not an easy task. And a latest study from the US revealed, for example, that there are several issues, technical issues, health and disability issues, and a lot of the, in fact, aged care citizens, they don't have experience in using technology. That's not easy. And the technical issues often have to do also with the internet. And we experience that a lot in Australia. We don't have really that very high speed internet. And especially the elderly, they even don't have less access to that. Also, they don't use like mobile phones like the younger generation, and they often don't have like a wireless plan. And that situation is even worse in regions where the citizens have a lower income. And then, of course, when we get older, we have more problems with our ears, with our vision, and also with our cognitive ability. So that is not an easy thing for the health tech sector then to give solutions for the aged care. Now, I would like to introduce you to Alec. Alec is the Director of Strategy for Emerging Markets at GOC, and he's also a biotechnology graduate with international research experience, and he will be our moderator of the evening.
Thank you very much, Ria. So on top of what Ria has said, I will be the moderator, and what that means is I'll be making sure we all stick to time and get out of here on time as well tonight. So there are 3 speakers lined up for this evening. First we have Janelle, Yurt, and then Bo. We're going to do questions. We're going to hold questions till the end, though if we do have time in between speakers, there will be time. Just send a message in the chat or speak up if you will. Without further ado, I'd like to pass this on to our first speaker, Janelle Sabilo. Janelle is Director of Program Development and Initiatives at GOC, as well as a part-time aged care worker. And she'll be here to give us the practitioner's perspective on aged care. Janelle, if you could please share your screen, that would be fantastic.
Hi, Alec. Thank you for the introduction. First thing, I cannot share my screen. I think it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Get Olga on that one. It wouldn't be an online conference.
Yes, I just made, sorry, Janelle, I just made you co-host, so go for it.
Okay. All right, yeah. Good day to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar for today that is organized by One HealthTech. It is a privilege for me to share my insight in the aged care sector, and I entitled my presentation as the healthcare worker perspective on the aged care sector, the challenges and opportunities. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land wherever we may be. For me, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I do recognize their continuing connection to the land, water, and culture. I pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that recognition to the Indigenous people present here today. Who among here are aged 50 years old and above? Or who has a parent that is more than 50 years of age? Or who knows someone that is older than 50? I know most of you will say yes to that question, because why did I ask this? Because back in 1900s, the life expectancy of the world is below 50 years of age. That can be considered already, and when you reach 50 years of age, that can be considered already as a biggest milestone, and you are amongst, can be considered as elderly. From then on, the life expectancy has vastly improved due to the unprecedented achievements of medicine, which provided us with vaccines, antibiotics, improved hygiene, and countless advancements in the healthcare sector. Aging is a natural progression or a phase in a human development. Scientifically speaking, it is called as biological senescence, and it can be described as a gradual deterioration of functional characteristics of an organism. Given these facts, aging is not a disease that we can treat, but rather it is an unavoidable reality that we can manage. We are all familiar to the quote of the French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry that says, "What is essential is invisible in the eye." And as the pandemic exposes every gap and magnifies the weaknesses in our society, it also accelerates our dependence in modern technology. Thus, there are work that cannot certainly be replaced by machineries, nor can be controlled by inorganic algorithms. However, we have a bad history of valuing people who put themselves in the service of others, whether it's teachers, nurses, cleaners, food services, or carers. When we don't see them, we don't become sensitive of their needs and consequently worsening their work conditions. If we are going to observe these essential jobs that are low-paying jobs and often neglected, in the midst of pandemic, these essential workers are still working and cannot stay at home. This makes them more vulnerable to be exposed to the disease. While the middle-income earners lose their job, the high-paying job has the privilege to work from home. Even though essential workers are still working at present, according to research, 1 in 5 essential workers struggles to make ends meet. Our society needs to learn how to value the essentials. I have a disclosure to make. I am not an aged care facility owner. I am not also from the labs or any pharmaceutical companies that will sell you pills that can prevent aging, nor I am not also a whistleblower that will expose the untold truths in aged care sector. I am here as an aged care worker, and I would like to share to you a glimpse of how I see our aged care sector. And the Australian aged care sector is a multi-billion-dollar business. For the financial year 2018 and 2019, the sector has generated an amount of $20.2 billion from the government subsidies and out-of-pocket payment of residents or their families. It employs 366,000 people, and also for the same year, there are approximately 1.3 million Australians who have used aged care service. Just like other Western countries, even though we are geographically not from the West, but as a developed country, we rely highly on developing countries to aid in our healthcare workforce. Majority of aged care providers has more than one culturally and linguistically diverse employee. India and Philippines ranks as the most common source of healthcare workers. Most of aged care employees are women. In the near future, as our aging population increases, there will be more shortage in our healthcare workforce. Abraham Maslow is a psychologist who presented a theory regarding the needs of an individual. Maslow said that we have needs that needs to be fulfilled starting from the bottom, which is the physiological state. Thus, in aged care sector, there are challenges that hinders both worker and elderly to attain the highest level, which is our self-actualization or our full potential. One realization that comes into my mind is that for us to attain the highest level of morality, we must seek our greater purpose. Not everyone in the aged care has dementia. Most of them are just frail. Thus, losing that purpose also loses the meaning of life. On the 8th of October 2018, the Australian government launched a Royal Commission on the aged care sector. This Royal Commission aims to identify what the government, aged care providers, families, and community can do to ensure quality and safety of our elderly. It is a first step into tackling the issues that this sector is facing. The initial findings pointed out several problems in the aged care sector. Among these are the challenging nature of older people and their families in getting access to aged care services, the dispiriting nature of residential care, substandard and unsafe practice, underpaid, undervalued, and insufficient training of workforce, and isolation of young people with disabilities. The Royal Commission has a budget of more than $104 million. A year after launching the Royal Commission, last 31st of October, an interim report has been released, and the commissioners have identified 3 areas where immediate action can be taken. Aside from the challenges that the sector has facing, the pandemic had added additional burden to the sector. Outbreaks in the aged care facilities, deaths of elderly people, and exposure of healthcare workers to the disease are the other things that this Royal Commission will investigate. The interim report has been a long-standing knowledge in the aged care sector. The real problem in this sector is that majority of the funding goes to the private facilities. Although majority of aged care providers are not for-profit facilities, the majority of the funding goes to the private facilities. Although majority of aged care, thus privately run facilities are usually larger, which means they offer more places than not-for-profit and government facilities. More than half of the private facilities offer 100 places, which enables them to get huge amount of budget and subsidies from the government. The Royal Commission are looking into the faults of the aged care sector. Workers are most of the time stereotyped as incompetent and abusive to the elderly. Bad picture is always depicted towards carers and staffs of aged care. I am not against capitalism, nor do I support socialism. If we will dissect and seek the roots of these failures, what we are going to see is likely that we are, like what the saying goes, money is the root of evil. Large number of jobs created were in the lower paid but labor-intensive healthcare sector. The business model of our aged care sector is quite similar to the prison system of the United States, wherein government funds its prison system but managed and profited by private individuals. For 2018 to 2019 financial year, the aged care sector reported 1.7 billion in profit. This goes to managers' bonuses and shareholders' dividends. Capitalism plays a role in our aged care system. It is a cancer that destabilizes our renowned healthcare system. Our elderly people are not cash cows of aged care providers. They go to aged care seeking care and protection. We need to stop lining the pockets of aged care companies. This is not universal health care if we keep charging our elderly and siphoning their hard-earned money. It is not universal health care if money is more important than humanity. As the pandemic accelerates our dependency to modern technology, we can use these innovative technologies in assisting our aged care sector. Although technology isn't necessarily a natural fit with elderly, it could have a positive impact by potentially triggering a revolution and resolving some of the very urgent issues currently facing by the aged care sector. Today, with the use of advances in technology and communications, telehealth or video conferencing are being used by the aged care elderly in the aged care to contact their physicians. Several devices in allied health are also being improved to assist our elderly and workers in the system. If you have heard the term racism, ageism denotes the same context, but towards our elderly people. We need to stop labeling our elderly people and dictate them on what they can or cannot do. Let's encourage our elderly people to live life to the fullest. It can be achieved by giving them a place and purpose in our society. Keeping them engaged and having that sense of purpose is a crucial factor in keeping the elderly healthier for longer periods of time. I always believe in the prowess of the education. Educating our youth is equipping them the necessary tools needed by the workforce. If education is going to be promoted and properly employed, we will have enough qualified workforce that can help not only our aged care sector, but our whole healthcare sector. To be in aged care is not a death sentence to an elderly or disabled person. To work in aged care does not necessarily mean that you are incompetent. The stereotypes in this sector must be removed, and we must uphold the value of this sector. Don't get me wrong, working in the aged care sector is a privilege. It is also like other jobs that has its own perks and downside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janelle. Now, I believe we don't have any questions lined up just yet. We can save them for after the final presentation. For now, I will hand over to Bo, who is the CEO of Oceanic Studios, which is a market leader in the creation of virtual reality hardware and software. So if Bo, I'll hand it over to you. You're able to share your screen if need be, so take it away.
No worries, thanks Alec, and thanks for having me today. As Alec mentioned, we're a VR company and we specialise in aged care and health, as well as some other areas of education. So we have a product that allows aged care residents to go on virtual holidays. You can see the kiosk here. So what I'll do is I'll play a short video which explains how the concept came about in more detail, and then I'll just show you how this works quickly. So I'll just share my screen.
You should be able to do that. Yeah. Cool.
To another business story inspired by a man's wish to take his grandfather back in time with the help of virtual reality. Oceanic Studios is a software company providing aged care patients with an escape from everyday life. Here's co-founder Bo Barnett.
My grandfather was in a hospice before he passed away, and we got talking about his younger years growing up in Manchester in England, and he said he always wanted to go back. So VR was in its infancy then. I tried to get all the technology together, but it was pretty hard. So he passed away before I could show him that. But you know, I thought, you know, if he would have really enjoyed that, then other people in a similar situation would enjoy that as well. We created some VR technology for the aged care industry. That's a purpose-built kiosk with a touchscreen that they can wheel around to residents and pop a headset on them, press a button and take them off to hot air balloon over the Alps, or gondola ride down to Venice, or explore a museum, or hang out with some tigers. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Intel's been a great supporter of ours. They allow us to use their technology to create experiences. They speed up the process and access to new tools and technology. We're very lucky to have Intel as a partner. And I find that some of the residents who aren't engaging as well as they used to with their family members, they put them in the VR simulation, and they might take a Google Earth trip to their town in Italy that they grew up in. You know, it makes them feel alive and makes them feel young again, and it really has a really positive impact, just not on the resident but also on their family as well. We find that if you do really good work, then people take notice. So yeah, it's more about just being true to the core principles of doing really, really great work, you know, being on time and being on budget, and, you know, making your customers feel well represented I started when I was 24, and I just jumped straight in. So I had something I wanted to do, which was remake those old games. So I just kept working at it, and I didn't take no for an answer. It was really, really, really hard, you know, being that young. I think times have changed. I think people expect you to be that young these days. So I wouldn't take age as a hindrance. Just make sure your idea is sound, and you know, you do need to make money out of it. At the end of the day, you need to be able to pay your bills, put food on the table. But you also need to do something that you love as well. Those two things together are pretty hard, but if you work at it, you can get there. Being a business owner, you wear more than one hat. So yeah, you do work quite a lot, but you know, that's part of the fun and part of the challenge.
So I'll stop it there because we don't need to hear the rest of that. You can see the kiosk here, so it's very different from the one that everyone saw in the video. It's designed for attendants in aged care. So essentially they touch the button, the experience that they want to use. You can't really see that with the screen. So if I touch Roam and I press play, and you can see now on the screen, you probably can't see it very well, but now we're on a trip to Rome, and if the resident's inside and the attendant wants to turn it off, let's press one button there. So as the speaker before mentioned, technology and the elderly don't go particularly well together. They haven't grown up with it. The younger generation, obviously, they're born into it. So we designed this system, one touch, very easy, and that's all you need to know. If you can use an iPad or whatever you need, you can use that. So there's about 50 experiences on there. They range from travel to animals to visiting a museum, as we mentioned in the video. You can hang around with puppies. And we find that it really helps the residents because even though it's virtual, it is like you're there. And if you're in an aged care facility and you see those four walls every day, technology like this, you know, it's a little bit, 5-10 minutes a day makes quite a difference. Anyone have any questions?
We might hold off questions till the end, give people time to brew on them as well. But thank you very much, Bo. It's really cool technology you got going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I said, it's very simple, so it doesn't take long to explain how it works. Yeah. The reason why we went with this kiosk and the touchscreen is because if you do it any other way, the attendant is required to use controllers or an Xbox controller, or they're required to use a mouse or a keyboard. This, you turn it on, that's all you have to do. So it removes the IT equation from it. It removes having to understand how Windows works and having to open up programs. It just removes all the complexity. So an aged person theoretically could use it themselves. Actually, some of them do. So it's portable, wheels around on its own wheels. You can link them together so you can experience experiences together. There's a virtual movie theater in there where you can watch old movies. There's Elvis and there's some Andre Rieu on there as well. So they can sit there and watch that together and they can talk within the virtual environment. We do have another add-on for it, which is a 360 camera that a resident's family can have at their home, and they can live stream video of a birthday party to the kiosk. I do have a video of that, so we have time at the end, let me know and I can play that as well.
Yeah, I do have a very quick question, just to follow up. I mean, have you seen any like super surprising ways of using the technology in the aged care facilities, something that you haven't anticipated?
Well, the family sharing, when we did the 360 video, we recorded the family. One family had all the photographs on the table and they were singing songs that their grandmother used to sing, and she was crying through the headset. That was amazing. Yeah, it really, really was.
So we've got a question here from Ria. She's asking, how does it help the residents? Does it make them happier? And have you measured it?
We have measured it, yes, and it does make them happier. We've got a big stack of paper of surveys that we did with an aged care company, and they loved it. So they actually consume all the content, and they're always wanting more. Yeah, it's great, and everything's curated. You know, nothing makes any of them sick. I mean, there's a roller coaster on there which I can't do, but some of the residents, that's their favourite thing to do. So it really comes down to the individual. But the way the technology works now is that previously VR could make you sick because you move your head and the image inside wouldn't match up correctly. All of that is fixed now. Facebook, being the market leader, have pumped $50 billion into this thing, and it just works. You put it on and that's it. There's no setup, there's no nothing. So it's fantastic.
Cool.
It wouldn't work in an aged care facility. It has to be easy and just work. Otherwise, they've got enough to worry about with the resident, let alone having to worry about something like this.
Got another question here from Jonathan. He says, are you looking at any more clinical applications of this software?
We have a partner here in Melbourne called Liminal VR, and they have a psychometric program which is backed by psychologists, which actually is pain relieving and calming and energizing experiences. It's all done with color and sound, and it's all backed by this huge stack of documentation that you can refer to. So we have some of that on the platform as well. I can post some links at the end so people can have a look at that too. We haven't done any studies ourselves. We've known those guys for a long time, so it's much easier to be a partner with them and then expose their findings through our platform.
Cool. I have a question from Janelle. She says, have you seen residents use it at your facility?
No, we haven't. I haven't seen them yet. In my facility, I haven't seen them using that yet, but yeah, I've seen that. I am from Ality. Yeah, but here in Victoria.
You guys, I'm not sure if you guys have one of these.
No, we in our facility we don't have it yet, but probably soon when the pandemic is like the restriction is, maybe they have the procurement for those kind of technologies.
Okay, well, feel free to get in touch before the pandemic ends, and we can send you the brochures and all that sort of stuff, and you guys can have a look. So yeah, we're confident ours is great. There's a lot of people who've tried it. They tried with a portable system, but that doesn't work because you have to charge it, it gets lost. There's some setup. This plugs into the wall, everything is attached. You can wipe it down. You know, you can change the face plates. You can do a whole lot of things on it.
Cool. That'd be really awesome if the outcome of this meeting was getting one of your devices inside Janelle's facility. That would be really cool.
That'd be great. We actually have another product called the Seawall, which is an interactive wall. It's a projection wall that's about 5 meters diagonally, so it's huge, and the residents throw soft balls at the wall, and there's all these little games on it as well. So I'll post that video at the end of this too. And that runs off this system as well, so it does a dual purpose. So you can run them both at the same, not at the same time. You can run one or the other, but that's been successful as well. That's really cool technology. I think it's just as good as this.
You mentioned roller coasters. Have any of the elderly users been frightened or scared using the VR?
Well, we have a comfort rating. You can't see it, but when you click on the experience, there's a comfort rating, like a traffic light system. So that denotes before they use an experience how intense it is. So it depends. Some people don't like anything on their face, so it won't matter what you show them. They just don't like it. Others like it to be extreme as they can get it. So overall, it's been really, really positive. We haven't had any negative outcomes.
Olga has a question. How does the funding work for VR solutions in public healthcare?
From my point of view, in public healthcare, I don't really have an answer for that. This is a product that we sell and we license out to places. As far as a public facility goes, everyone we've engaged with has usually been a private entity, because I guess their budgets work different.
Yeah.
So
you haven't had any
question.
Yeah, no, because the follow-up, it was, no, because what we see with the digital health and tech solutions in general, it's very hard to kind of get the funding from the public healthcare system, and they're not necessarily covered within the public healthcare. And that's why I was wondering whether you see any kind of changes and movements into...
That would be something we would have to partner with someone and have some really hard clinical findings and some benefits for it. So the public system would say, okay, well, that technology clinically, does X, Y, Z. So there's a great outcome for that. So that's the way that we would have to approach that to get the public funding.
Fantastic. We might have time for, oh no, just answer, sorry. We are running out of time for you both, but that's a fantastic presentation. Hopefully you can link up with Janelle and we can get that sorted in her facility as well. Next up, we have Yurt Harkins. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that. Yurt is the sales market manager at Memoride. And I'd like to hand over to you. So take it away, Yurt.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone from Belgium. I'm a long way. I'm trying to present for you today our Memoride system. So I'll try to share my screen. Share screen. Okay.
There we go.
Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So I would like to present our Memoride. And Memoride, our slogan is your ride down memory lane. That will get clear in a few minutes what we mean by that. So I'm still trying to. Okay. So what is Memoride? So it's a virtual cycling program and it's based on Google Street View. So every user has the opportunity to make a trip through their own region of their own choice. For example, I can take a ride with my father through the house where he used to live, but at the same time, we can make a route in Australia, in Melbourne, Sydney, anywhere where Google Street View has taken pictures. We can cycle virtually with elderly people in their care homes. So the idea came from a director from a care home in Belgium called Wittemere, and he thought that his residents, they were not motivated to move. They had limited space in their physio area, and people were not keen to come do the exercises. So he had the idea to ask the local film club to make 5 different routes through the city. The city was called Mol. And so they made 5 routes through the city. And then afterwards, they put the television in front of the exercise bike. And people started to cycle in front of the television. And they had the idea that they were cycling through their own city. And they found it very nice. But one time, one of the residents said, "Hey, stop, turn left here because my house is there and I want to see my house again." But of course, there were video images, so we couldn't turn the television, so we were a bit stuck. And then we said, damn, that should be nice if people could really revisit the houses where they used to live and in that way tell their stories from their past. So we started thinking again, how could we solve that problem? And then we came by Google Street View. So Google Street View, they took in, I think, all over the world, not in China, but maybe in all the other countries, they took pictures of the streets, and we built software on their platform. So they have 360 degrees picture. We can stop anywhere, we can go anywhere, and it's very easy to connect the system with an exercise bike. The only problem is that it's no video images anymore. You know that Google Street View uses pictures, so we have one picture behind another. For us, it's not sexy enough, but for the elderly people, for them, it's all about the experience. Once an old lady said to me, I can see my house in a movie, how great is that? So she was really excited to see her own house again in that movie. And okay, how does it work? So the only thing you need is like the Samsung tablet. There the software is on the tablet. And then on the left side of the screen, you see the sensor we use. So we connect the sensor to the pedals of the bike. And we connect also the tablet to a television. And as soon as the resident starts to cycle, he starts moving through the images. And at every crossroad, the system will ask you to choose a direction. So you get little arrows on your screen, I think. So here you can see it's a starting screen. It's in Dutch, so you can learn the Dutch on the way as well. You can enter any address you like in the search area. Then you get this picture. And as soon as you start cycling, you start moving towards forwards. And at every moment, every crossroad, every junction, you get to choose a direction. You see the little arrows. And now you have to just click on the arrow and you follow the road that you've chosen. I've put this video in. It's you might think he worked for Memorite, but he doesn't. We met him at a fair in London, but he was so excited. And maybe if you see him, because you know what it's all about. So I'm going to start the video now.
We can't hear him speaking, so.
Yeah, do you need me to have audio with this video?
Geert, perhaps you can just comment on what he's supposed to say if there is some audio on the screen.
Hallo Geert, we kunnen hem niet horen. Er is geen geluid. Ja.
Oh, sorry, you cannot hear him?
No.
Oh, he was so excited. So he was telling that it's like a no-brainer. He's exercising, but at the same time he's telling he was cycling to his own home where he used to live, where he was young, and he said that the physical exercise is like a background. The most important thing is the cognitive exercise, and that was his point made. I'm sorry, I thought you could hear. Very sorry. So I'll move on. I move on anyway. Wait. So voila. So that means we try to improve the quality of people's life by keeping them physically, cognitively, and socially active. And we do that by offering them personalized and meaningful experiences. You see, this is a picture. So physical, you all know the physical exercises are very important, especially for elderly people to stay active. I've mentioned here all the advantages. There are 1,001 more studies on the internet you can find. I'm sure you know this better than I do. Cognitive ways. So reminiscence, how do you say that in English? Is it okay? So the moment that people see an image on the screen, they immediately start telling stories, and that's what we try to achieve. Not only the physical action, but they see the area that they used to live, and they start telling, oh, that was my house, that was a room where I used to live. And even people with some dementia, after a while, they start to remember things, and we had some great experiences with that. It's really amazing. One time there was a guy, and we cycled like 10 times through his own road, and he didn't recognize anything, but the 10th time he said, oh, that wall, I made it myself. And we turned it in front of his house, and then he started to tell all the stories about his house, and his caretaker was next to me, and she said, wow, he never talks, and now he started talking. He didn't stop for 15 minutes. So it's really, it doesn't work for everybody, but for the people that does work, it's really amazing. It can be emotional, but at the same time, they're always very bright. They call other residents and say, hey, come and look at my house. See, that's my little garden. And then the story goes on. They start talking with each other. So the social aspect is also very important of the exercise. Voila. You see, they start talking between residents and caregivers, but also between families. During the Corona crisis here in Belgium, I tried to organize through Skype live sessions with residents and their family at home. And that was really a very nice experience as well, because that way the people in the residents couldn't get any visitors anymore. The care homes were closed, so they didn't have any contact with their family. And so we offered them to use Memorite online, and we had more than 170 care homes who participated in our action. So it was very, very successful. Okay. That's also a very important thing, that the people have their own choice. You even don't have to cycle if you don't want to. We call it our little taxi button. And if you use a taxi button, the system goes automatically. Voila, and then you see all happy people like this in our care homes in Belgium. That's one who just rode the Tour de France in the yellow jersey. And she just won the great sprint at the end. So we target, most of the targets are like elderly homes, but also we have some psychiatric nursing homes, some centers for children with disabilities, physical or mental. In hospital, it is used already in geriatrics, and also the first one we sold now at the nephrology, because the people who are at the dialysis, help me please, dialysis then from the kidneys, they have to be at that machine 3 times a week for 4 hours, and they complain a lot about cramps or getting stiff in their muscles. And now we work together with some hospital in Belgium, and you see the picture on the bottom, it's a little cycling bike. And then that way we combine it with our software, and now we're more motivated to exercise for half an hour during their dialysis, and the results are very great. They complain less afterwards when they exercise. Yeah. Okay, we already have like 150 care institutions that use our software in 11 different countries, even in Australia. Last week, there should be 12 countries, but we sold our first in France as well 2 weeks ago. So things are going good, even with this COVID problem we have. But it means that it is important and an added value for the care homes to use this system. Voila. Thank you for following. I hope everything is clear. Maybe I went a little bit too fast. If you have some questions, please.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much, Jet. It's really it feels good to see you bringing joy and better health to the old communities.
Yeah, it's a good distraction, but it's also a very useful distraction. It's not like playing a bingo. Not that I have everything against playing a bingo, but this one, yeah, it brings back memories, and it's a good exercise, and that's the most important. And it's an experience for them to do it. And in the beginning, we didn't know, maybe if the people visit one time their home, should they be interested in going again? But it's really amazing what they go to look up some addresses from the holidays they made in the past, or the hotel where their daughter is going to this weekend, and then they ask the caretaker, says, hey, can you enter this address? Can you, my daughter is over there, can you go there? And it really is, it's going big now. Yeah.
Awesome. We have a question from Olga.
Yes.
She asked, is it mostly used in Europe? What about Japan?
We don't have anything in Japan yet. No.
And
no.
just to comment on that, no, the reason I'm asking because I mean, we've done some studies, and loneliness is one of it's like, I think, the second cause of death for the Asian populations, at least according to some of them. And while in Japan, loneliness is one of the biggest concerns.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, how the adoption of Memoride, for instance, in Japan will look like. Will it be different, for instance, from what you experience in Europe or not? But yeah.
I think the reactions in Europe are everywhere the same. The only problem is, does Japan have Google Street View images? I suppose so.
Yes.
Because China doesn't, but that's another story. But I think my colleague had the chance to go on a business trip with the Belgian government to Japan, but something came in between, so it will be maybe the next time. But yeah, I think we can go in any country where they have Google Street View images. The software is the same. We just have to translate the languages, and off you go. Yeah.
I had a question. It seems like it's quite upright bikes. Do the elderly ever have issues getting on top of the bikes, or is it?
No, we can use any bike you like. Most people use the bike that the care home already has. It's like a sort of electric bike an active bike that helps them to turn around, and we just make the sensor, we connect it to the pedals from the bike, and it just has to move a little bit. You don't have to, even if you, excuse me, you had a little child that was completely paralyzed, he could only use his hands and his mouth. So we gave the sensor in his hand, and we said to them, hey, if you turn now, you will start moving. And in the beginning, he didn't understand what he had to do, but after 10 minutes, he was like this, and he wouldn't give the sensor back to us because we were so happy that he could move the images on the screen. So yeah, you don't have, and any type of bicycle, any type of movement is enough to go forward.
Yeah, wonderful. I have a question from Ray. He asks, what is the primary motivation for care settings to adopt the system? What did they say to you?
Yeah, it's a bit, the value for us is the quality of life is increases for the residents. That's the most important thing for care homes and for the residents as well, I think, so that they could stay healthier, stay active, and staying active makes them stay healthier as well. I wouldn't say we would lower the costs, because I don't know about in Australia, but in Belgium, the people who who need the most care, they get the most budget from the government. So the healthy one don't get a lot, but it's just the quality of life, the experience they have. That's the most important thing for the now in Belgium. Quality of life is really important. It's from the government that says we must increase the quality of life in the care homes.
So is there a difference in, I don't know how it works in Belgium, but a difference in adoption between private and public?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I don't no, public it takes a little longer, but that's the main difference. No, we have all kind of customers, all kind of care homes that use it. So even private ones or public ones, it's still all the same.
We might have time for one more question. Did you get more interest during COVID for Memoride?
We had a lot of interest, but the problem during COVID was that, of course, budget. They had to make a lot of expensive buying masks, buying gels, taking care of all the things they need to do to prevent COVID. So a lot of a lot of people who wanted to buy it, they postponed it a little bit. So I think now it's in Belgium, the situation is getting more stable. And I think starting from September, October, the selling will go again.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's about time. We have to cut you off there. No more time for questions. Thank you very much, Jed.
Thank you very much.
No worries. We'll hand over to Olga to finish up the presentation.
Yeah, thanks all for organizing and also for all the presenters. I think it was very interesting. And thanks to Alec and Ria for actually coming up with the first idea of organizing something around aged care. I thought we've learned a lot, and that was quite interesting. I'm not going to hold you much longer. Just two things. First, we will provide the link later on, so basically you can come around, because I did notice that some people also joined us later. So you might be interested to see other presentations as well. And also we are planning to organize our next meetup online as well on September 24th. So we will be sending you links soonish. And the goal and basically the topic will be at the intersection between sustainability, food, and healthcare. So will be quite interesting, and we are actually already putting together a nice sets of speakers, and also showcase some of the interesting work that we're doing here in Australia and also globally. So thank you so much for joining, and have a great day or morning.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much, everyone.